The church doors burst open with a force that made every head turn. Tiana Brooks stood in the entrance, her chest heaving as she tried to catch her breath. Her bright red dress was wrinkled from running, and her natural curls had come loose from their pins. 200 pairs of eyes stared at her in shock. This was not how she imagined this moment would go. For 3 weeks, she had been tracking financial records, following paper trails, and piecing together a conspiracy that would end in murder. And now, standing in this beautiful church with its white flowers and golden ribbons, she had exactly 30 seconds to stop a man from walking into his own death. At the altar, Harrison Cole stood frozen in his perfectly tailored navy suit. At 6 feet tall with kind brown eyes and sandy hair, he looked every bit the successful billionaire the media portrayed. Next to him, his bride Veronica Sterling smiled beneath her veil, a smile that Tiana now knew hid poisonous intentions. The woman's ivory dress sparkled with thousands of crystals, paid for with money she didn't have, planning to steal money that wasn't hers. "I now pronounce," Pastor Henderson began, his voice echoing through the vaulted ceiling. Tiana's legs moved before her mind could second-guess. She ran down the aisle, her heels clicking against marble floors. Gasps erupted around her. Someone shouted for security. But she kept moving, her eyes locked on Harrison's confused face. "Stop," she called out, her voice clear despite her racing heart. "Please just stop." Security guards in black suits rushed toward her from both sides of the church. She had maybe 10 seconds before they grabbed her. 10 seconds to save a life. She reached the altar just as strong hands gripped her arms. She twisted toward Harrison, close enough now to see the concern in his eyes, close enough to see he was truly a good man about to be destroyed. "You're in danger," she whispered urgently, her voice only for him. "Pretend I'm your mom. Trust me, please. You're about to be murdered." Harrison's eyes widened. For a moment that felt like an eternity, he stared at her. Tiana watched his face cycle through confusion, disbelief, and then something else. Recognition, perhaps. Or maybe intuition. Whatever it was, she saw the exact moment he decided to trust a complete stranger in a red dress who had just crashed his wedding. He raised his hand, stopping the security guards. "Wait," he said firmly. His voice carried authority that came from years of running a billion-dollar empire. "Let her go." The guards hesitated but released her arms. The church had gone completely silent. Even the string quartet in the balcony had stopped playing. Every breath was held. Every eye watched. Veronica's perfectly made-up face had gone pale beneath her veil. "Harrison, darling, what are you doing? This woman is clearly unstable. Security, please remove her immediately." But Harrison wasn't looking at his bride. He was looking at Tiana, studying her face with an intensity that made her heart skip. She could see him analyzing, calculating, making the kind of split-second decision that had made him successful. "What's your name?" he asked quietly. "Tiana Brooks. I'm a financial investigator, and I have proof that your life is in immediate danger. I know this sounds crazy, but you need to leave this church right now. Please. I'm begging you to trust me." "Harrison, this is absurd." Veronica's voice rose, losing its sweet tone. "We're in the middle of our wedding. Tell them to remove this person." Tiana turned to face Veronica directly. "The champagne at your reception. Tell him what's in the champagne." Veronica's eyes flickered with something dark and cold. Just for a second. But it was enough. Tiana saw the mask slip. So did Harrison. "How dare you?" Veronica hissed. "Harrison, are you really going to let this stranger ruin our special day with ridiculous accusations?" Harrison stepped back from the altar. The movement was small, but it created distance between him and his bride. Between him and danger. "I need to hear what she has to say. You cannot be serious." Veronica's voice turned shrill. Her brother Todd, sitting in the front row in a gray suit, stood up abruptly. He was a tall man with sharp features and cold eyes. "Harrison, be reasonable. This woman clearly has mental problems. Don't let her manipulate you." But something in Harrison's expression had changed completely. He looked at Veronica, really looked at her, and seemed to see something he hadn't noticed before. Or perhaps had chosen not to notice. He turned to the packed church. Family members, business associates, society friends, all dressed in their finest clothes, all waiting for him to make a choice. "I apologize, but this wedding cannot continue. Everyone, please leave." The church erupted in chaos. People stood, voices raised in confusion and protest. Veronica grabbed Harrison's arm. "Have you lost your mind? We've spent a year planning this. My family is here. Your business partners are here. You're humiliating me." Harrison gently but firmly removed her hand from his arm. If what this woman is saying is true, then you've done far worse than humiliate me. He looked at Tiana again. You said you have proof? She nodded. In my car. Documents, recordings, bank transfers. Everything you need to see the truth. Then I need to see them. He turned to his best man, a shorter man with red hair and freckles named Brian Davies. Brian, I need you to handle things here. Make sure everyone leaves safely. Brian looked stunned but nodded. Of course, but Harrison, what's going on? I'll explain later. Right now, I need to go with Miss Brooks. Veronica's face had transformed from shock to rage. The beautiful bride became something ugly as her carefully constructed plans fell apart. If you walk out of this church, don't expect me to take you back. This is your last chance, Harrison. Harrison met her eyes steadily. I don't think I'll be wanting to come back. He offered his arm to Tiana with old-fashioned courtesy. Miss Brooks, shall we? Tiana took his arm, her hand trembling slightly. She had done it. Against all odds, she had reached him in time. Thank you for trusting me. Don't thank me yet, Harrison said as they walked down the aisle together, past rows of shocked faces. You better have incredible proof to back up this claim, or you've just helped me make the biggest mistake of my life. I do, Tiana assured him. And I'm sorry it had to be like this. But I couldn't let them kill you. They pushed through the heavy church doors into bright afternoon sunlight. Tiana's blue sedan was parked illegally at the curb, a parking ticket already under the wiper. She pulled it off and unlocked the doors. Harrison paused before getting in, looking back at the church where his entire life had just changed direction. Through the stained glass windows he could see shadows moving, hear raised voices. His wedding day had turned into a nightmare. Or perhaps Tiana thought she had just woken him up from one. Last chance to change your mind, she said softly. Once you see what I have to show you, everything changes. Harrison turned to face her fully. In the bright daylight she could see the strength in his features, the intelligence in his eyes, and something else. Integrity. This was a good man. She had been right to trust her instincts. Then let's change everything, he said and got into her car. As Tiana drove away from the church, she glanced in the rearview mirror. Veronica stood on the church steps in her expensive wedding dress, watching them leave. Even from a distance, Tiana could feel the hatred radiating from the woman. They had made an enemy today. A dangerous one. But they had also prevented a murder. And sometimes, Tiana thought as she merged into traffic, that was worth making enemies. Where are we going? Harrison asked. Somewhere safe. Somewhere I can show you everything. And then you can decide what to do next. Harrison was quiet for a moment, then said, You know what's strange? Part of me knew something was wrong. I kept ignoring this feeling in my gut. I told myself I was just nervous about getting married. Your instincts were trying to protect you. And so were you. He looked at her curiously. What? You don't know me. You could have just sent the evidence to police. Why risk coming to the church yourself? Tiana kept her eyes on the road, but she felt warmth spread through her chest at the question. Because the police might have been too late. Because I've seen what greed does to people and I couldn't let it happen again. And because... She hesitated, then continued, because everyone deserves someone who will fight for them, even if it's a stranger in a red dress. Harrison laughed, a sound of surprise and genuine amusement despite the circumstances. A stranger in a red dress who just saved my life. Let's look at the evidence before we make that claim, Tiana said, but she smiled. Though I'm pretty confident about my research. I believe you, Harrison said simply. I don't know why, but I do. They drove through the city streets as the late afternoon sun painted everything gold. Somewhere behind them, a wedding reception was being cancelled. Somewhere behind them, criminals were realizing their plan had failed. But in this moment, in this car, there was just Tiana and Harrison, two strangers bound together by truth and trust and the beginning of something neither of them expected. The real story was just beginning. Have you ever had to trust a complete stranger with your life? What would you have done in Harrison's position? Drop a comment below and tell me your thoughts. And if you're loving this story so far, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what happens next. Believe me, you're going to want to see how this unfolds. Tiana's apartment was nothing like what Harrison expected. It was small, maybe 400 square feet, with cream-colored walls and a single window overlooking a busy street. But it was clean and organized with a desk covered in file folders and a laptop, a small kitchenette, and a couch that had seen better days. Sorry about the mess, Tiana said, though the place was actually quite tidy. She gestured to the couch. Please sit. I'll get the files. Harrison sat, feeling strange in his formal wedding clothes in this modest space. He watched Tiana move around the apartment with quick, efficient movements. She had kicked off her heels by the door, and now walked in bare feet across the worn carpet. Something about the gesture made her seem more real, more human than anyone at that church full of society people. She returned with a thick folder and her laptop. Sitting next to him on the couch, close enough that he could smell her perfume, something light and floral, she opened the folder with steady hands. "I'm going to show you everything," she said. "And I need you to keep an open mind because some of this is going to hurt." "I'm ready," Harrison said, though he wasn't sure that was true. Tiana pulled out the first document, a bank statement. 3 months ago, I was hired by a client to investigate some suspicious financial activity. During that investigation I came across something that didn't fit. Money moving through accounts in a pattern I recognized. I've seen it before in cases involving fraud and worse. She showed him page after page. Bank transfers between accounts held by Veronica and her brother Todd. Large debts to dangerous people. Money borrowed against future assets they didn't have. "Your assets," Tiana explained gently. "They were borrowing money against what they expected to inherit after you died." Harrison's hands tightened on the papers. "But I'm not dead. I'm 32 and healthy." "Exactly." Tiana pulled out another document. "This is where it gets darker. 2 weeks ago, Todd Sterling purchased a substance called oleander extract. It's a poison, Harrison. It's nearly tasteless, and when mixed with alcohol, it causes heart failure that looks natural, especially in someone at a stressful event like their own wedding." Harrison felt his stomach turn. He took the document from her, reading the purchase order. There was Todd's signature. His future brother-in-law. A man he had trusted. "The plan was simple," Tiana continued, her voice soft but clear. "You drink the champagne at the reception. Everyone's toasting, celebrating. You'd have at least 2 or 3 glasses. By the time symptoms appeared, you'd be having what looked like a heart attack. The stress of the wedding, everyone would say. So tragic. So unexpected. And Veronica, your grieving widow, would inherit everything." "My will," Harrison said slowly, realization dawning. "She had me change my will 6 months ago. Said it was important that we protect each other." Tiana nodded. "I found a copy. She inherits 100% of your estate. Your businesses, your properties, your investments. All of it." Harrison stood up, needing to move. He walked to the window, looking out at the city below. People walked past on the sidewalk, living their normal lives, unaware that his entire world had just shattered. "I loved her," he said quietly. "Or I thought I did. How could I have been so blind?" "She's very good at what she does," Tiana said. "I found records of 2 previous relationships with wealthy men. Both ended when the men discovered her true nature. She's a professional, Harrison. This isn't personal. You're just a target." The words should have made him feel better. They didn't. "How did you figure it all out?" Tiana came to stand beside him at the window. "I'm good at patterns. I see numbers and transactions and I see the story they tell. When I realized what they were planning, I couldn't just send it to police. Legal process takes time, and you were getting married today. I had to warn you directly." Harrison turned to face her. She was shorter than him, her brown eyes serious and kind. This woman, this stranger, had risked everything to save him. "You could have been arrested today. Thrown out of that church. Charged with disruption." "I know. Why would you take that risk for someone you don't know?" Tiana's expression softened. "I grew up in foster care. I moved between 15 different homes before I aged out of the system. And in every single one, no one fought for me. No one stood up when things were wrong. I learned to fight for myself. But I also learned that sometimes, people need someone to stand up for them when they can't do it themselves." Harrison felt something shift in his chest. This woman had more courage in her little finger than most people he knew had in their entire bodies. "Thank you," he said. "Those words aren't enough, but thank you for saving my life." "You're welcome." Tiana smiled, and it transformed her face from serious investigator to something warmer, brighter. "And now we need to figure out what to do next." "We go to the police," Harrison said immediately. "With this evidence, they can arrest both Veronica and Todd." "We will," Tiana agreed. "But first, I think you need to process what just happened. You were about to get married an hour ago. Your life just completely changed. It's okay to take a moment." Harrison looked at this woman who barely knew him but understood him so well. "You're right. I don't even know what I need." "Food, probably," Tiana said practically. "When was the last time you ate?" "Yesterday. I was too nervous this morning." "Okay. I'm ordering pizza. You're going to eat. Then we're going to make a plan." She pulled out her phone, and Harrison found himself smiling despite everything. "You're very bossy for someone who just crashed my wedding." "I prefer the term efficiently helpful," Tiana shot back with a grin. "Pepperoni okay with you?" "Perfect." While they waited for food, Tiana showed Harrison more of her research. She had been thorough, tracking every transaction, every meeting, every piece of the conspiracy. She had phone records showing Todd talking to known criminals. She had emails between Veronica and her brother discussing the timeline. She had everything they needed for a conviction. "You're brilliant at this," Harrison said, paging through her notes. "How long have you been an investigator?" 5 years. I put myself through online courses while working 3 jobs. Got my license 2 years ago and started my own small firm. It's just me, really. I take cases that the big firms don't want. The complicated ones that require patience. The ones that don't pay well," Harrison guessed. Tiana shrugged. "I don't do this for money. I do it because people deserve truth and justice. And because I'm really, really good at finding patterns." The pizza arrived, and they sat at her small kitchen table eating straight from the box. It felt surreal, Harrison thought. This morning he had been preparing for his wedding, surrounded by staff and family and chaos. Now he sat in a tiny apartment with a woman he just met, eating pizza and planning how to bring down criminals. And somehow this felt more real than anything he had experienced in months. "I want to compensate you for your work," Harrison said after they finished eating. "All these hours you spent investigating. The risk you took today. Please let me pay you properly." Tiana hesitated, and Harrison saw pride warring with practicality in her expression. "I know you want to say no," he said gently. "But you saved my life. You've spent weeks on this case. You deserve compensation. Please, let me do this." Finally, Tiana nodded. "Okay, thank you. That's very kind. You can invoice my company. Whatever your rate is, triple it. And I want to cover any legal fees if Veronica or Todd try to sue you for disrupting the wedding." "Triple seems excessive," Tiana protested. "It's not nearly enough," Harrison countered. "But it's a start." He pulled out his phone. "I'm also getting you a security detail. If Veronica and Todd realize their plan failed because of you, they might try to retaliate." "Harrison, that's really not necessary." "It absolutely is necessary." His voice was firm. "And I'm not taking no for an answer. Either you accept the security, or I'm sleeping on your couch tonight to make sure you're safe." Tiana laughed. "That's definitely not necessary. But okay, I'll accept the security. Thank you." They spent the next hour calling Harrison's lawyer, Frank Morrison, and arranging to meet with him the next morning. They also called Detective Rachel Johnson, who specialized in financial crimes. She agreed to meet them at the police station first thing. As evening fell, Harrison realized he had nowhere to go. His penthouse was probably full of wedding gifts and reminders of Veronica. His family would have questions he wasn't ready to answer. Everything he owned suddenly felt tainted by betrayal. "You can stay here tonight if you want," Tiana offered, reading his expression. "The couch is actually pretty comfortable. And tomorrow we tackle everything together." Harrison looked at her, this guardian angel in a wrinkled red dress who had appeared out of nowhere to save him. "Are you always this kind to people who disrupt your entire Saturday?" "Only the ones who trust me enough to walk away from their own wedding." Tiana smiled. "Get some rest, Harrison. Tomorrow's going to be a long day." That night, lying on Tiana's couch with a borrowed blanket, Harrison stared at the ceiling and thought about how one moment, one decision to trust, had changed everything. He had walked away from money, status, a future he thought he wanted. But he had walked toward truth, toward safety, toward a brave woman who fought for strangers. For the first time in months, maybe years, Harrison felt like he could breathe. In the morning they would face lawyers and police and the complicated mess of bringing criminals to justice. But tonight he was alive, he was safe, and he was grateful. All because of Tiana Brooks, the woman in the red dress who refused to let injustice win. The police station was busier than Tiana expected on a Sunday morning. Detective Rachel Johnson met them in the lobby, a tall African-American woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. She wore a green blazer and black pants, her badge clipped to her belt. "Mr. Cole, Ms. Brooks, follow me please," she said, leading them through security and into a conference room. "I've heard some pretty wild stories in my career, but a wedding day poisoning plot is a new one." They spent 3 hours going through every piece of evidence. Detective Johnson took notes, asked questions, and occasionally shook her head in disbelief. Tiana watched Harrison during the process. He sat straight-backed in his chair, his jaw tight, as each piece of evidence painted a picture of how thoroughly he had been deceived. "This is solid work," Detective Johnson said finally, looking at Tiana with respect. "You've built an airtight case here. Bank records, purchase orders, communications. Mr. Cole, I think we have enough to bring charges against both Veronica Sterling and her brother Todd." "How long will it take?" Harrison asked. "We'll need to verify some of this independently, but given the immediate danger, I can get warrants by this afternoon. We'll pick them both up tonight." She looked at Harrison seriously. "I should warn you, this is going to be very public. A billionaire almost poisoned on his wedding day? The media will have a field day." Harrison nodded slowly. "I understand. But the truth needs to come out. Other people need to know what they're capable of." After the police station, they met with Harrison's lawyer, Frank Morrison. His office was in a sleek downtown building with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the harbor. Frank was a man in his 60s with silver hair and expensive suits. "Harrison, my boy," Frank said, clasping Harrison's hand. "I heard about the wedding. Are you all right?" "I am now, thanks to Miss Brooks." Harrison gestured to Tiana. "Frank, this is Tiana Brooks, the woman who saved my life. Tiana, this is Frank Morrison, my attorney for the past decade." Frank shook Tiana's hand warmly. "Then I owe you a debt of gratitude. Please sit. Tell me everything." They went through the story again. Frank listened carefully, occasionally making notes. When they finished, he sat back in his leather chair and sighed. "I never liked Veronica. Too polished, too perfect. But I never imagined this." "Nobody did," Harrison said quietly. "Well, the legal situation is complicated but manageable," Frank said. "First, we need to void that will immediately. Second, we need to secure all your assets to prevent any attempts to access them. Third, we need to prepare for what will likely be a very messy legal battle when the Sterlings get arrested." "Do whatever you need to do," Harrison said. "And Frank, I want you to bill everything related to protecting Tiana as well. She's in danger because she helped me." "Absolutely." Frank made another note. "Ms. Brooks, do you have legal representation?" "No, I usually handle my own legal matters for my business." "Not anymore," Frank said kindly. "As of now, you're under my firm's protection. No charge. Anyone who saves Harrison's life is family as far as I'm concerned." Tiana felt tears prick her eyes. She had spent her whole life fighting alone, and now suddenly she had an entire team willing to protect her. "Thank you. That means more than you know." They spent the rest of the morning working through legal documents. Harrison's phone rang constantly, calls from family and friends wanting to know what happened at the wedding. He let them all go to voicemail. He wasn't ready yet. By early afternoon they were both exhausted. As they left Frank's office, Harrison turned to Tiana. "I have a proposition for you." "What kind of proposition?" "I own a house outside the city. It's secure, private, and beautiful. I'd like you to stay there with me for the next few weeks, while this all plays out. You'll be safer there than at your apartment." Tiana started to protest, but Harrison held up his hand. "Before you say no, please consider this. I have a full security system, staff, everything we need. You've been living alone in that tiny apartment, working case after case for people who probably don't appreciate what you do. Let me give you a safe place to rest. Please. I'll feel better knowing you're protected, and honestly, I could use the company. The next few weeks are going to be hard, and you're the only person who understands what really happened." Tiana looked at his earnest face. She thought about her empty apartment, about always being alone, about finally having someone who wanted to help her the way she helped others. "Okay," she said. "I'll stay at your house." "Thank you." Harrison's face lit up with a genuine smile, the first she had seen since the wedding. "Thank you for saying yes." They stopped by Tiana's apartment to pack some clothes and essentials. Harrison insisted on sending someone to professionally pack and move the rest of her things later, which she accepted gratefully. Then they drove out of the city in Harrison's car, a sleek silver sedan that he had kept at his office building. The house was 40 minutes outside the city, nestled in rolling hills with a view of mountains in the distance. It was beautiful, a modern structure with huge windows and clean lines, surrounded by gardens and trees. "Harrison, this is incredible," Tiana breathed as they pulled up the long driveway. "It's my retreat," Harrison said. "I come here when I need to think. No one from my business life knows about this place except Frank. It's completely private." The inside was just as stunning. Open floor plans, natural light everywhere, comfortable furniture in shades of blue and green. The kitchen was state-of-the-art. There was a library, a gym, a home theater, and 6 bedrooms. "Your room is upstairs," Harrison said, carrying her bags. "It has a balcony overlooking the garden. I think you'll love it." The bedroom was bigger than Tiana's entire apartment. The bed was enormous, covered in soft white bedding. French doors opened onto a balcony with a view of rose gardens and a small pond. "This is too much," Tiana whispered. "It's not enough," Harrison said seriously. "You saved my life, Tiana. You can't put a price on that. Please just let yourself enjoy this. You deserve good things." After Harrison left her to unpack, Tiana sat on the balcony and let herself cry. Happy tears, overwhelmed tears, grateful tears. For so long she had been the one helping others, never asking for help herself. And now this kind man was giving her a sanctuary not because he had to, but because he wanted to. That evening they had dinner on the back terrace as the sun set over the mountains. Harrison's cook, an older woman named Mrs. Patterson, had prepared roasted chicken with vegetables and fresh bread. It was simple, delicious, and felt like a real home. "Tell me about your work," Harrison said as they ate. "How did you become an investigator?" Tiana talked about her years in foster care, about the social worker who suggested she had a gift for noticing details others missed, about putting herself through school, working multiple jobs, determined to build something meaningful. Harrison listened with complete attention, asking thoughtful questions, genuinely interested in her story. "You're extraordinary," he said when she finished. "You've built an entire career from nothing, helping people, fighting for justice. That takes real strength." "I just did what I had to do." "No," Harrison said firmly. "You did far more than that. You could have taken an easier path. But you chose to be someone who stands up for others. That's not just survival. That's heroism." Tiana felt warmth spread through her chest. "Thank you. That means a lot coming from you." "From me? I'm just a guy who inherited money and got lucky in business. You're the one who built yourself from scratch." They talked late into the night, sharing stories and dreams and fears. Harrison told her about the pressure of running a company, about always wondering if people liked him for himself or his money. Tiana told him about the loneliness of always being the strong one, never having anyone to lean on. "You can lean on me now," Harrison said quietly. "If you want to. I know we just met, but I feel like I've known you longer." "Is that strange?" "No," Tiana said. "I feel it too." The next morning, they woke to news that Veronica and Todd Sterling had been arrested. Detective Johnson called to confirm both were in custody, charged with conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, and attempted poisoning. The evidence was overwhelming. "It's over," Harrison said after hanging up the phone. "They can't hurt anyone now." But Tiana saw the sadness in his eyes. Yes, the criminals were caught. But Harrison had also lost his fiancée, his planned future, his trust. That kind of betrayal left scars. "Hey," she said gently, touching his hand. "You're going to be okay. It doesn't feel like it now, but you will be." Harrison turned his hand over, lacing his fingers through hers. "With you here, I believe that." They spent the week working with police and lawyers, giving statements, reviewing evidence. The media did exactly what Detective Johnson predicted. Newspapers ran headlines about the billionaire's wedding day escape. Television reporters camped outside Harrison's business headquarters. Everyone wanted the story. But inside the safe haven of Harrison's house, there was peace. Tiana and Harrison fell into an easy rhythm. Morning coffee on the terrace. Long walks through the gardens. Evening dinners where they talked about everything and nothing. Slowly, Tiana watched Harrison heal. The tight lines around his eyes relaxed. He smiled more. He laughed. And Tiana found herself healing too. For the first time in her life, she wasn't alone. She had someone who cared about her well-being, who asked about her day, who wanted her to be happy. One evening, as they sat by the pond watching fireflies dance over the water, Harrison said, "I need to tell you something." "What is it?" "That day in the church, when you whispered to me that I was in danger, I made a split-second decision to trust you. And it was the best decision I've ever made. Not just because you saved my life, but because you brought something into my world that I didn't even know was missing." "What's that?" Tiana asked softly. "Truth. Genuine kindness. Someone who sees me as a person, not a bank account." He turned to face her fully. "Tiana, I'm falling for you. I know it's fast and I know the timing is terrible, but I can't help it. You're brave and smart and kind, and I've never met anyone like you." Tiana's heart raced. She had been feeling the same way but was afraid to admit it. "I'm falling for you too," she confessed. "I kept telling myself it was too soon, that we barely know each other. But then I realized I know the most important things. I know you're honest and kind. I know you treat people with respect. I know you appreciate the things that really matter." Harrison smiled, that warm, genuine smile that made his whole face light up. "So what do we do about this?" "I think," Tiana said carefully, We take it slow. We keep getting to know each other. We build something real based on friendship and trust. I like that plan. Harrison reached out and tucked a curl behind her ear, his touch gentle. Thank you for being patient with me. I know I have a lot to work through after Veronica. And thank you for making me feel like I finally have a home, Tiana said. For the first time in my life, I don't feel alone. They sat together by the pond as night fell, hands intertwined, watching stars emerge in the darkening sky. The road ahead would have challenges. Legal battles, media attention, emotional healing. But they would face it together. And that made all the difference. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of legal meetings and police interviews, but through it all Harrison and Tiana grew closer. Every morning started with coffee on the terrace, where they would discuss the day ahead. Every evening ended with dinner and long conversations that stretched into the night. Harrison learned that Tiana loved old movies, especially film noir from the 1940s. He set up the home theater so they could watch her favorites. She learned that Harrison had wanted to be a teacher before his father died and he had to take over the family business. He still tutored kids in math on weekends, something few people knew about. Why keep it secret? Tiana asked one evening as they curled up on the couch watching Casablanca. Because when people know you have money they question your motives, Harrison explained. If I volunteer publicly they say I'm doing it for good publicity. So I just do it quietly where it matters most. That's beautiful, Tiana said. You have a good heart, Harrison Cole. The trial preparations were intense. Frank Morrison brought in a team of lawyers to handle the case against Veronica and Todd. The evidence was damning. Financial records showed they had stolen nearly $3 million from various victims over the years. The plan to poison Harrison was just their most ambitious scheme yet. During a meeting with the prosecution team, Tiana sat next to Harrison, her hand resting on his arm for support. When the prosecutor showed photos of Veronica and Todd being arrested, Harrison's jaw tightened, but he didn't look away. You're incredibly strong, Tiana whispered. Only because you're here, he whispered back. The media attention was relentless. Reporters called constantly trying to get interviews. Photographers camped at the gates of Harrison's estate. But inside their private sanctuary, life continued peacefully. One afternoon Harrison found Tiana in the library, surrounded by case files for her other clients. She had been neglecting her own work to help him. You need to take care of your business, Harrison said gently. I've been monopolizing all your time. I don't mind, Tiana said. Your case is important. So is your work. So are you. Harrison sat down next to her. I have a proposal. Let me help you with your investigative firm. Not take it over but support it. Better equipment and office space, maybe an assistant. You're brilliant at what you do but you've been working alone for too long. Tiana hesitated. She had always been independent, never accepting help. But Harrison's offer came from genuine care, not pity. What would that look like? Whatever you want it to look like. It's your company, your vision. I just want to give you the resources to make it bigger and better. Think about it. You could help more people take on bigger cases, really make a difference. Over dinner that night they discussed possibilities. Tiana's eyes lit up as she described cases she had turned down because she didn't have the resources. Missing persons cases, corporate fraud, helping families who couldn't afford private investigators. With the right support I could do all of that, she said excitedly. Then let's make it happen. Harrison pulled out his phone and made notes. Office space in the city. State-of-the-art computer systems. Database access. What else do you need? Harrison, this is too generous. It's not generous, it's smart. You're already brilliant at what you do. Imagine what you could accomplish with proper resources. Please, Tiana. Let me invest in your dream. Tiana felt tears well up. Okay. Yes. Thank you. They spent the next week setting up her new office. Harrison helped her find a beautiful space in downtown, with large windows and modern furniture. They bought top-of-the-line computers, surveillance equipment, and forensic software. They even hired an assistant, a young woman named Bethany who was fresh out of criminal justice school and eager to learn. On the day they opened the new office, Tiana stood in the middle of the space and felt overwhelmed with gratitude. The walls were painted her favorite shade of blue. Her name was on the door in gold letters, Brooks Investigative Services. This is real, she whispered. This is actually happening. Harrison wrapped his arms around her from behind. You deserve this and so much more. I'm just happy I could help make it happen. Tiana turned in his arms to face him. They had been careful not to rush into anything physical, building their relationship on friendship and trust. But in this moment, standing in her new office with this incredible man who believed in her dreams, she couldn't help herself. She kissed him. It was soft and sweet, a kiss that spoke of gratitude and growing affection and hope for the future. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. "I've been wanting to do that for days," Tiana admitted. "So have I," Harrison said. "But I wanted to make sure you were ready. That we were both ready." "I think we are," Tiana said. "Not for anything rushed or complicated. But for this. For us, taking it one day at a time." One day at a time sounds perfect. That evening, they celebrated the new office with dinner at a quiet restaurant outside the city. Harrison had reserved a private room so they could eat without media attention. Over pasta and wine they talked about the future. "The trial is in 3 months," Harrison said. "Frank thinks it will be straightforward. The evidence is overwhelming and their lawyer is already talking about plea deals." "How do you feel about that?" Tiana asked. "Honestly? Relieved. I don't want to drag this out. I want justice, but I also want to move forward with my life." He reached across the table and took her hand. "I want to see where this goes, you and me. Without all the legal drama hanging over us." "I want that too," Tiana said. "But Harrison, we need to be realistic. Your world is very different from mine. You're a billionaire. I'm just starting to build my business. People are going to have opinions." "Let them have opinions," Harrison said firmly. "The only opinions that matter are yours and mine. And I think we're building something really special here." "We are," Tiana agreed. "But I need you to promise me something. If this gets too complicated, if the media attention or the social differences become too much, you'll tell me. I don't want you to feel obligated because I helped you." Harrison's expression became serious. "Tiana Brooks, I need you to hear this. What I feel for you has nothing to do with obligation. You're smart, brave, kind, and beautiful. You make me laugh. You challenge me to be better. You see the real me, not the billionaire everyone else sees. I'm falling for you because of who you are, not because of what you did for me. Do you understand?" Tiana nodded, emotions swelling in her chest. "I understand. And I'm falling for you too. The real you. The man who tutors kids in secret and reads poetry and makes terrible jokes about accountants." Harrison laughed. "Hey, my accountant jokes are hilarious." "They're really not," Tiana teased. "But I love that you think they are." The word love hung in the air between them. Neither had said it directly yet, but it was there, growing stronger every day. As they drove back to the estate that night, Tiana thought about how much her life had changed in just a few weeks. She had gone from working alone in a tiny apartment to running a professional office with resources she never dreamed of. She had gone from eating instant noodles for dinner to having a personal chef prepare her meals. She had gone from being alone to having someone who cared deeply about her happiness. But more than the material changes, she had found something she thought she would never have. A true partner. Someone who saw her value and wanted to help her shine. Someone who made her feel safe and cherished and understood. "What are you thinking about?" Harrison asked as they pulled up to the house. "How grateful I am," Tiana said simply. "For all of this. For you." "I'm the grateful one," Harrison said. "You gave me my life back. You gave me hope. You gave me a reason to believe in genuine connection again." They walked into the house hand in hand. Mrs. Patterson had left fresh flowers in the foyer, and soft music played from the sound system. The house felt like home, Tiana realized. More than any of the 15 foster homes she had lived in. This place with this man felt like where she belonged. Over the next few weeks, they settled into a comfortable routine. Tiana worked during the day at her new office, taking on cases and building her client base. Harrison managed his business remotely, taking calls and video meetings from his home office. Evenings were theirs, to talk and laugh and simply be together. They took walks through the gardens, cooked together in the kitchen, and watched movies in the home theater. They talked about their pasts and their dreams. They learned each other's quirks and habits. Harrison discovered that Tiana sang in the shower and was terrible at video games. Tiana learned that Harrison could recite entire passages from The Great Gatsby and made the world's best pancakes. One Sunday morning, Harrison made breakfast while Tiana read the newspaper on the terrace. When she came inside, she found the kitchen table set beautifully with fresh fruit, pancakes, bacon, and orange juice. "What's the occasion?" she asked. "No occasion. Just wanted to do something nice for you." Harrison pulled out her chair. "You've been working so hard with your new cases. You deserve a special breakfast." As they ate, Tiana felt a wave of contentment wash over her. This was what love felt like, she thought. Not dramatic gestures or passionate declarations, but quiet mornings and thoughtful surprises. Someone remembering how you liked your coffee. Someone wanting to make your day brighter. Harrison, she said softly. Yes. Thank you for making me feel like I matter. Harrison reached across the table and took her hand. You do matter. You matter so much. They sat there in the sunny kitchen, hands intertwined, both understanding that they were building something that would last. The trial date was set for early October, 8 weeks away. Harrison and Tiana used the time to prepare and to deepen their relationship. They were careful to take things slowly, both aware that their connection had been forged in crisis and needed time to develop naturally. One Saturday, Harrison suggested they spend the day in the city doing normal couple things. No lawyers, no case discussions, just fun. Tiana agreed enthusiastically. They started at a farmer's market, walking hand in hand between stalls selling fresh produce and handmade crafts. Harrison bought Tiana a bouquet of sunflowers and she bought him homemade jam. They ate lunch at a small cafe where nobody recognized Harrison, and they talked about everything except the trial. I used to come to places like this with my mom, Harrison said, stirring his coffee. Before my dad got really successful. We'd spend Saturdays at markets and parks just enjoying simple things. She sounds wonderful. She was. She died when I was 19. Car accident. My dad threw himself into work after that, built the company into what it is today. But he was never the same. He died 5 years later from a heart attack. I think he died from a broken heart, really? Tiana squeezed his hand. I'm sorry you lost them both so young. It taught me that life is short and unpredictable. That you have to appreciate the people who matter while you have them. He looked at her meaningfully. That's why I don't want to waste time, Tiana. I know we're taking things slow and that's good. But I also know what I feel. I care about you deeply. I care about you too, Tiana said. More than I've ever cared about anyone. After lunch they went shopping. Harrison insisted on buying Tiana new clothes for her office. She protested at first, but he was so enthusiastic, picking out blazers and dresses in bright colors that would look stunning on her. This one, he said, holding up a maroon dress. This would look amazing on you. It's too expensive, Tiana said, looking at the price tag. Let me do this, Harrison said gently. Please. You've been wearing the same 3 outfits to the office because you haven't had time to shop. And I love buying things for people I care about. It makes me happy. Tiana looked at his earnest face and relented. Okay. But nothing too extravagant. They ended up with bags full of professional clothes in blues, greens, and reds. Harrison also snuck in a beautiful emerald dress for evening wear. When Tiana tried it on, she hardly recognized herself. The dress hugged her curves perfectly, and the color made her skin glow. You're beautiful, Harrison said when she came out of the dressing room. His voice was thick with emotion. You make me feel beautiful, Tiana said softly. That evening, Harrison made reservations at an upscale restaurant in the city. Tiana wore the emerald dress, and Harrison wore a navy suit. They looked like any other successful couple out for a romantic dinner. Over wine and perfectly prepared steak, they talked about their future. What do you want, Tiana? Harrison asked. Not next week or next month, but long term. What does your dream life look like? Tiana thought carefully. I want to build my investigative firm into something that really helps people. I want to take cases that matter, solve mysteries that have been cold for years, help families find closure. I want to mentor other young investigators, especially girls from foster care like me. Show them they can build something meaningful. That's beautiful, Harrison said. And personally? What do you want in your personal life? I want. Tiana hesitated, then decided to be brave. I want a partner. Someone who respects me and supports my dreams. Someone I can build a life with. Someone who makes me laugh and challenges me to grow. I want a home that feels safe. Maybe kids someday if that's in the cards. That sounds perfect, Harrison said. And I hope I can be that partner for you. You already are, Tiana said. You've supported my business, respected my independence, made me feel valued. I've never had that before. You'll have it for as long as you want it, Harrison promised. I'm not going anywhere. They walked back to the car holding hands, both feeling the weight and wonder of the commitment they were building. This wasn't just attraction or gratitude anymore. This was real love growing steadily deeper. Back at the estate, they sat on the terrace under a blanket of stars. The night was cool, and Harrison wrapped his jacket around Tiana's shoulders. I've been thinking, he said. After the trial, I want to make some changes to my business. Delegate more, step back from day-to-day operations. I've spent 10 years building a company, but I don't want to spend the next 10 just maintaining it. I want to do work that matters. Like what? I want to start a foundation. Help kids from difficult backgrounds get education and opportunities. Work with foster care systems to improve outcomes. Fund programs that make a real difference. He looked at Tiana. You inspired that. Your story, your strength, your determination to help others. I want to use my resources to do the same. Tiana felt tears well up. Harrison, that's incredible. Those kids need advocates. And they'll have them. We'll build something together if you're interested. Your investigative work plus my funding. We could help so many people. I love that idea, Tiana said. I would love to be part of that. They talked late into the night about possibilities. A foundation that provided scholarships and mentoring. Programs to help aging out foster youth transition to independence. Support for families trying to adopt. The ideas flowed freely, each one better than the last. We could really change lives, Tiana said excitedly. Give kids the chances I never had. That's exactly what I want to do, Harrison agreed. And I can't think of anyone better to do it with. As the night grew late, they went inside. At the foot of the stairs, Harrison pulled Tiana close. Thank you for today, he said. For being yourself. For sharing your dreams with me. For letting me be part of your life. Thank you for seeing me, Tiana said. Really seeing me. Not just the investigator who saved you, but me. Tiana. The girl from foster care who still has insecurities and fears. I see all of you, Harrison said. And I love all of you. The words hung in the air. It was the first time either had said love directly. Tiana's heart raced. I love you too, she whispered. I tried not to fall this fast, but I couldn't help it. You're everything I never knew I needed. Harrison kissed her then, soft and sweet and full of promise. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. Good night, Tiana. Good night, Harrison. Tiana went to her room feeling like she was floating. She stood on the balcony, looking out at the gardens bathed in moonlight, and thought about how much her life had changed. A few months ago she was alone, struggling, working cases that barely paid the bills. Now she had a thriving business, a beautiful office, and most importantly, someone who loved her. She thought about the girl she used to be. The one who moved from home to home, never feeling wanted, always feeling like a burden. That girl would never believe this life was possible. But Tiana had fought for it, worked for it, and when kindness was offered, she had been brave enough to accept it. Sleep came easily that night, and her dreams were full of hope. The next morning she woke to find a note slipped under her door. Harrison's handwriting read, Good morning, beautiful. Breakfast on the terrace when you're ready. Today is going to be wonderful. Tiana dressed in comfortable jeans and a green top, one of her new outfits. When she came downstairs, she found Harrison had made her favorite breakfast. Waffles with strawberries and whipped cream. You're spoiling me, she said, kissing his cheek. Get used to it, Harrison said with a grin. I plan to spoil you every chance I get. They spent the morning in the garden, Harrison showing Tiana his favorite spots. There was a rose garden his mother had planted years ago. A small pond with koi fish. A vegetable garden that Mrs. Patterson maintained for fresh cooking ingredients. This place is your sanctuary, Tiana observed. It is, Harrison agreed. Or it was. But now it's our sanctuary. Yours and mine. Our sanctuary, Tiana repeated, loving the sound of it. I like that. They picked vegetables for lunch, working side by side in the sunshine. Harrison showed her which tomatoes were ripe, and Tiana found fresh basil for a salad. It was simple, domestic, perfect. In the kitchen they cooked together. Harrison chopped vegetables while Tiana made pasta from scratch, something Mrs. Patterson had taught her. They laughed when flour ended up everywhere, and Harrison wiped some from Tiana's cheek with gentle fingers. You have pasta sauce on your nose? Tiana said. Do I? Harrison grabbed her playfully. Now you have it too. They ended up in a gentle food fight, laughing like teenagers. When they finally sat down to eat their somewhat messy but delicious meal, Tiana felt a happiness so complete it almost scared her. I've never been this happy, she admitted. It's almost frightening. Why frightening? Because what if something happens? What if this doesn't last? I don't think I could go back to being alone after having this. Harrison reached across the table and took both her hands. Listen to me. Nothing is guaranteed in life. We both know that. But what we have is real and strong and built on honesty. I'm not going anywhere unless you tell me to go. And I hope you feel the same. I do, Tiana said firmly. I'm all in, Harrison. Whatever comes, I want to face it with you. Then we face it together, Harrison said. That's what partners do. That afternoon, they received news that Veronica and Todd's lawyer wanted to meet. Both defendants were ready to plead guilty in exchange for reduced sentences. The trial would be short, maybe only a few days instead of weeks. "It's almost over," Harrison said after hanging up with Frank. "Soon this whole nightmare will be behind us." "How do you feel about seeing them again?" Tiana asked. "Honestly, I don't feel much of anything. Anger has faded. I just feel sad that they chose this path. That they valued money over morality." He pulled Tiana close. "But I also feel grateful. If this hadn't happened, I never would have met you." "Everything happens for a reason," Tiana said, resting her head on his chest. "Then I'm grateful for the reason," Harrison said, kissing the top of her head. That evening they watched the sunset from the terrace, wrapped in blankets against the cooling air. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink, beautiful and fleeting. "This is my favorite time of day," Tiana said. "When everything slows down and you can just be." "Mine too," Harrison agreed. "Especially when I get to share it with you." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the colors fade to dusk. Somewhere in the city, legal proceedings continued. Somewhere, the media speculated about their relationship. But here, in this moment, there was just peace and love and the promise of tomorrow. And that was enough. The peaceful days at Harrison's estate were interrupted by a phone call from Detective Johnson. She needed to see them both immediately. Her tone was serious enough that Harrison and Tiana drove straight to the police station. "We have a problem," Detective Johnson said, spreading photographs across the conference room table. "Todd Sterling made bail this morning. And within hours, he disappeared." Harrison leaned forward, studying the photos. "They showed Todd leaving the courthouse, getting into a car, and then nothing. How is that possible? I thought he was considered a flight risk." His lawyer argued otherwise. The judge bought it. Detective Johnson looked frustrated. "We have surveillance showing him heading toward the city limits, but then his trail goes cold. We think he had help." "What does this mean?" Tiana asked, though she already knew the answer. "It means he's dangerous and unpredictable. And it means you're both at risk. Todd Sterling has already shown he's willing to commit murder. Now he's facing life in prison. He has nothing to lose." Harrison immediately pulled out his phone. "I'm calling the security company. I want round-the-clock protection for both of us." "Already arranged," Detective Johnson said. "Officers will be stationed at your estate within the hour. And Ms. Brooks, we're putting protection on your office as well." The drive back to the estate was tense. Harrison held Tiana's hand tightly, his jaw set in a hard line. "I should have seen this coming. Should have fought harder to keep him in custody." "You couldn't have known," Tiana said. "None of us could. But you're in danger because of me. Because you helped me." Harrison's voice was thick with guilt. "Hey," Tiana said firmly. "Stop that. I chose to help you because it was the right thing to do. And I don't regret it. Whatever comes next, we face it together. Remember?" Harrison nodded, squeezing her hand. Together. At the estate, they found 2 police cars already parked at the gates. Officers introduced themselves and explained the security protocol. No one in or out without identification. Regular patrols of the property. Panic buttons installed in every room. Mrs. Patterson was visibly shaken by the news. Harrison assured her she was safe and offered to send her to stay with family until the situation was resolved. She accepted gratefully. That night, Harrison insisted Tiana stay in the guest room next to his master suite, closer to him in case of emergency. They both tried to sleep but kept checking their phones for updates. Around 2 a.m., Tiana gave up and went to the kitchen for water. She found Harrison already there, staring out the window at the patrol cars outside. "Couldn't sleep either?" she asked. "Every sound makes me jump," Harrison admitted. "I keep thinking Todd is out there somewhere planning something." Tiana wrapped her arms around him from behind. "The police will find him. And until they do, we're safe here." "I hate this," Harrison said. "I hate that you're scared. That our peace is ruined. That we have to live like prisoners." "We're not prisoners. We're just being cautious." Tiana came around to face him. "Harrison, look at me. This doesn't change what we have. It doesn't change how I feel about you. If anything, going through this together makes us stronger." Harrison pulled her close, burying his face in her hair. "I love you so much. The thought of something happening to you?" "Nothing's going to happen," Tiana said firmly. "We're protected. We're prepared. And we have each other." They stood in the kitchen, holding each other as the night wore on. Finally, exhaustion overtook fear and they went upstairs together. Harrison walked Tiana to her room. "I'm right next door if you need anything," he said. "I mean it. Anything at all, even if it's just company." "Same here," Tiana said. She kissed him softly. We're going to be okay. But the next morning brought more troubling news. Detective Johnson called to report that someone had tried to access Harrison's business accounts overnight. The attempts were traced to a location near the border. Todd's trying to steal what he couldn't get through murder, Harrison said grimly. But our cybersecurity is solid. He won't get in. We're working with federal agents now, Detective Johnson explained. Bank fraud, wire fraud, crossing state lines. This has escalated beyond local jurisdiction. The FBI wants to meet with both of you. The FBI meeting was intense. 2 agents, one older man named Agent Thomas and a younger woman named Agent Rodriguez, explained that Todd had connections to criminal organizations they had been investigating for years. He's not working alone, Agent Rodriguez said. He has access to resources and safe houses we're still tracking. But we will find him. It's only a matter of time. How much time? Tiana asked. We can't live in lockdown forever. We're close, Agent Thomas assured them. Todd made a mistake using his real identity to book a motel last night. We missed him by hours, but we're closing in. For the next week, Harrison and Tiana lived in a state of heightened alert. They went nowhere without security. Tiana's office was closed temporarily. Their whole world shrank to the estate and occasional trips to meet with lawyers or law enforcement. But through it all, they grew even closer. Adversity revealed character, and Tiana saw Harrison's strength and integrity shine through. He never complained about the situation. He made sure she felt safe and cared for. He even found moments of humor, making her laugh when tension got too high. One evening, as they played cards to pass the time, Harrison said, "You know what I've been thinking?" "What?" "When this is over, really over, I want to take you on a real vacation. Somewhere beautiful and far away. Just us, no security detail, no legal drama. Just exploring and relaxing and being together." "That sounds perfect," Tiana said. "Where would we go?" "Anywhere you want. Italy, Japan, New Zealand. You pick." "Surprise me," Tiana said with a smile. "I trust you." The phrase hung in the air. Trust. That's what their relationship was built on. Through everything, through crisis and danger and uncertainty, they trusted each other completely. On the 8th day, Detective Johnson called with news. "We got him. Todd Sterling was arrested trying to cross into Mexico. He's in federal custody now, and this time there's no bail." Harrison and Tiana hugged each other tightly, relief flooding through them. It was finally over. The danger had passed. "We need to celebrate," Harrison said. "Properly." That night he arranged a special dinner. The estate chef prepared a feast. Lobster, steak, fresh vegetables from the garden, and a chocolate dessert that was almost too beautiful to eat. They dressed up, Tiana in her blue dress and Harrison in his best suit. "To us," Harrison said, raising his glass. "To surviving the storm and coming out stronger." "To us," Tiana echoed, clinking her glass against his. Over dinner they talked about the future. With the criminal case resolved and the danger past, they could finally move forward with their lives. "I want you to move in here," Harrison said. "Permanently. I know we've been living together already, but that was temporary because of the situation. I want this to be your home. Our home." Tiana felt tears prick her eyes. "Are you sure? That's a big step." "I've never been more sure of anything," Harrison said. "I love you. I want to wake up with you every morning and fall asleep next to you every night. I want to build a life together. So yes, I'm sure. Move in with me." "Then yes," Tiana said, smiling through happy tears. "I'll move in with you." They sealed the agreement with a kiss, both knowing this was just the beginning of their journey together. With Todd back in custody, the legal proceedings moved quickly. Both he and Veronica agreed to plead guilty to avoid trial. The sentencing hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks away. Harrison and Tiana would need to provide victim impact statements. Writing the statement was harder than Harrison expected. He sat at his desk for hours trying to find words to express the betrayal, the fear, the anger he had felt. Finally, Tiana sat with him, holding his hand while he talked through his feelings. "They stole more than money," Harrison said. "They stole my ability to trust. They made me question my judgment. Every relationship I've had since has been shadowed by what they did." "Except ours," Tiana said softly. "Except ours," Harrison agreed. "You're the one thing they didn't ruin. You're proof that good people still exist. That genuine love is possible." With Tiana's help, Harrison crafted a statement that was honest and powerful. Tiana wrote one too, describing how Todd's escape had terrorized them both, how his actions had disrupted their lives and their sense of safety. The sentencing hearing was packed with media and spectators. Harrison and Tiana sat in the front row holding hands. When Veronica was brought in, she looked different. Prison clothes instead of designer dresses. No makeup. Hair pulled back simply. She glanced at Harrison once and he saw something in her eyes. Not remorse exactly, but recognition that she had lost everything. Todd looked defiant, his jaw set in a hard line. He didn't look at anyone, just stared straight ahead. The judge was a stern woman in her 60s named Judge Martinez. She listened to all the evidence, all the statements, with careful attention. When it was time for victim impact statements, Harrison stood first. His voice was steady as he read his statement. He talked about the betrayal, about looking forward to a marriage that was built on lies, about the fear when Todd escaped, about how their actions had far-reaching consequences beyond just financial loss. But I also want to say this, Harrison concluded. What they intended for harm led me to something good. Led me to understanding what real love and trust look like. So while I hope justice is served, I also release my anger. I choose to move forward, not stay trapped in the past. Tiana went next. Her statement was shorter but equally powerful. She described the danger she faced for doing the right thing, the nights she couldn't sleep, the fear that Todd might hurt Harrison. But she too ended on a note of strength. I don't regret helping Harrison, she said firmly. I would do it again. Because standing up for what's right, protecting the innocent, that's worth any risk. I just hope this case shows others that crime doesn't pay. That eventually justice finds you. Judge Martinez thanked them both. Then she addressed Veronica and Todd directly. You conspired to commit murder for financial gain. You showed no remorse until you were caught. You endangered not just your intended victim but also the person who exposed your crimes. These are serious offenses that demand serious consequences. She sentenced Veronica to 15 years in prison for conspiracy, fraud, and attempted murder. Todd received 25 years for the same crimes plus bank fraud, witness intimidation, and fleeing prosecution. As the sentences were read, Harrison felt a weight lift from his shoulders. It was truly over now. Justice had been served. He and Tiana could finally move forward with their lives without this hanging over them. Outside the courthouse, reporters shouted questions. Harrison made a brief statement, thanking law enforcement and the judicial system. He said he looked forward to putting this behind him and focusing on positive work through his foundation. He thanked Tiana for her courage, referring to her as his partner in both business and life. That statement sparked a new wave of media attention. Billionaire and his guardian angel romance read one headline. From wedding crasher to girlfriend, the love story that saved a life, read another. Back at the estate, Harrison and Tiana collapsed on the couch, exhausted but relieved. It's really over, Tiana said. It is, Harrison agreed. Now we can focus on what matters. Our future. The foundation. Speaking of the foundation, Tiana said, sitting up. I have an idea. Tell me. What if we started with a program for foster youth who age out of the system? Provide them with housing support, job training, mentoring. Everything I wish I had when I turned 18. Harrison's eyes lit up. That's brilliant. We could provide apartments, cover rent for the first year while they get on their feet. Partner with local businesses for internships and jobs. They spent the evening brainstorming. By the time they went to bed, they had the outline of a comprehensive program that could help hundreds of young people every year. The next morning, Harrison called Frank Morrison to start setting up the foundation legally. Within days they had a structure in place. Harrison would fund it initially, and they would seek additional donors and grants. Tiana would oversee program development, using her own experience to guide their choices. They named it Second Chances Foundation, because everyone deserved a second chance at building a good life. As news of the foundation spread, donations poured in. People were inspired by the story of how Harrison and Tiana met, by their commitment to helping others. Within a month, they had enough funding to launch their first pilot program in 3 cities. This is incredible, Tiana said, looking at the donation numbers. We can really make a difference. We already are, Harrison said. You've been making a difference your whole life. Now you just have more resources to do it. They hired staff, including several young people from foster care who brought invaluable perspective to the program design. They rented apartment buildings in safe neighborhoods and partnered with community colleges for educational programs. 6 months after Harrison's interrupted wedding, they held the grand opening of their first Second Chances facility. 20 young people moved into furnished apartments, each paired with a mentor and enrolled in job training programs. The event was covered by media, and the response was overwhelmingly positive. At the opening ceremony, Harrison and Tiana stood together cutting the ribbon. Cameras flashed as they smiled at each other, clearly in love and committed to their shared mission. "A year ago I thought I knew what my future looked like," Harrison told the crowd. "But that future would have been built on lies. Today I'm standing here with my true partner, building something real and meaningful. And it's better than anything I could have imagined." Tiana spoke next. "I grew up in foster care, moving from home to home, never feeling like I belonged anywhere. Today we're creating spaces where young people can feel safe and supported while they build their own futures. This is personal for me. Every young person who succeeds through this program is proof that with the right support, anyone can overcome difficult beginnings." The crowd applauded. Several of the young people who would be living in the facility wiped away tears. They understood what this meant, what it could change for them. After the ceremony, Harrison and Tiana toured the facilities with the residents. They saw the apartments, modest but comfortable, each with a kitchen, bathroom, and sleeping area. They met the mentors, volunteers who had committed to weekly meetings and regular support. One young woman named Brittany, 19 and studying to be a nurse, hugged Tiana tightly. "Thank you," she said. "You have no idea what this means. I was sleeping in my car 2 weeks ago. Now I have a home and a chance to finish school. Thank you." Tiana hugged her back, tears streaming down her face. "You're going to do amazing things. I know it." That evening, driving back to the estate, Harrison and Tiana were quiet, both processing the emotional day. "That was one of the best days of my life," Harrison finally said. "Mine too," Tiana agreed. Seeing their faces, their hope. "That's what it's all about." "We make a good team," Harrison said. "The best team," Tiana confirmed. At home they celebrated quietly. Dinner on the terrace, watching the sunset, talking about the program and how they could expand it. The foundation was just beginning, but already it was changing lives. "I'm so proud of you," Harrison said. "Of us. Of what we're building together." "I'm proud of us too," Tiana said. "We took something terrible and turned it into something beautiful." "Just like us," Harrison said. "We met in crisis and built something beautiful." That night, as they stood on the balcony under the stars, Harrison pulled a small box from his pocket. Tiana's heart stopped. "I know we've only been together officially for a few months," Harrison said. "But I've known from the moment you walked down that church aisle that you were special. You saved my life, but more than that, you gave me a reason to live it better. You showed me what real love and partnership look like." He opened the box, revealing a beautiful ring with a blue stone surrounded by small diamonds. "This isn't a proposal. Not yet. But it's a promise. A promise that when the time is right, when we're both ready, I want to spend my life with you. Will you accept this promise ring?" Tiana's hands shook as she looked at the ring. It was beautiful, but more than that, it represented everything they had built together. Trust, respect, genuine love. "Yes," she said through happy tears. "I accept your promise. And I make the same one to you. When the time is right, I want to spend my life with you too." Harrison slipped the ring onto her right hand, saving the left for the engagement ring that would come someday. They kissed under the stars, both knowing that their future together was secure. They had faced danger together, built a business together, started a foundation together. And through it all, their love had grown stronger. This was just the beginning. 2 months after the sentencing, life had settled into a beautiful routine. Tiana ran her investigative firm during the day while Harrison managed his businesses and the foundation. Evenings were spent together, planning programs and simply enjoying each other's company. The Second Chances Foundation was thriving. They had expanded to 5 cities and helped over 100 young people find stable housing and jobs. Media coverage brought in more donations and volunteers. They received letters from program participants sharing their success stories, each one a reminder of why their work mattered. Tiana's investigative firm was also growing. With better resources and an assistant, she could take on more cases. She specialized in helping families find missing loved ones and exposing financial fraud. Every case she closed felt like justice served. One afternoon, Tiana received an unusual call. A woman named Patricia Owens wanted to hire her to investigate her late husband's business partner. She claimed the partner had stolen her husband's share of their company, leaving her and her children destitute. "I don't have much money," Patricia said on the phone, "but I'll pay whatever I can. I just need someone to believe me and help me prove what happened." Tiana agreed to meet with her. The next day, a thin woman in her 40s came to the office. She wore a faded blue dress and carried a folder full of documents. Her hands trembled as she showed Tiana the paperwork. "My husband Richard died in a car accident 2 years ago," Patricia explained. "He and his partner Gerald owned a successful logistics company. They were supposed to be 50-50 partners. But after Richard died, Gerald changed the corporate documents. Claimed Richard only owned 30%. He gave me a fraction of what the business is worth. Tiana reviewed the documents carefully. The numbers didn't add up. This looks like fraud. Why didn't you go to the police? I did. They said it was a civil matter, not criminal. I couldn't afford a lawyer. Gerald has all the money and all the power. I felt helpless. Tiana's heart went out to this woman. She saw herself in Patricia's situation, someone alone and outmatched, needing an advocate. I'll take your case. And don't worry about payment right now. Let me see what I can find. Over the next 3 weeks, Tiana dove deep into the investigation. She discovered that Gerald had systematically altered records after Richard's death. Original partnership agreements showed 50-50 ownership, but Gerald had backdated new documents making it look like Richard had sold shares before his death. It was clever fraud, but Tiana was good at her job. She found the original documents, traced the forgeries, and built an airtight case. She even discovered that Gerald had done this before to another partner who died young. When she presented her findings to Patricia, the woman wept with relief. I knew I wasn't crazy. I knew Richard wouldn't have sold his shares. Can we get justice now? We can, Tiana assured her. I'm taking this to the prosecutor's office today. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Linda Hayes, was impressed by Tiana's work. Within a week, Gerald was arrested for fraud, forgery, and theft. The case made local news, another example of financial criminals being brought to justice. Patricia called Tiana the day after the arrest. You gave me my life back. My children's inheritance back. How can I ever thank you? You just did, Tiana said warmly. That's why I do this work. When Tiana told Harrison about the case that evening, he was beaming with pride. You're incredible. You know that, right? I just did my job. No, you did more than your job. You gave that woman hope and justice. You changed her family's future. Harrison pulled her close. I'm so lucky to have you in my life. I'm the lucky one, Tiana said. You gave me the resources to do this work properly. Before, I would have had to turn Patricia away because I couldn't afford to work her case. Now I can help people regardless of their ability to pay. That's exactly what I hoped would happen, Harrison said. You're using your gifts to help people who have no other options. It's beautiful. Their conversation was interrupted by a call from Detective Johnson. She had a favor to ask. The police were investigating a corruption case involving a city councilman who was accepting bribes from developers. They needed someone to go undercover and gather evidence. It could be dangerous, Detective Johnson warned. But you have the skills and the cover story. Your investigative firm gives you a legitimate reason to be asking questions. I'll do it, Tiana said without hesitation. Harrison immediately protested. Absolutely not. You've already been in danger once because of me. I'm not letting you risk yourself again. It's not about you, Tiana said gently. This is my work. This is what I do. And corrupt officials need to be stopped. They argued about it for hours. Harrison didn't want her in danger. Tiana insisted she could handle it and that the work was important. Finally, they reached a compromise. Tiana would do the undercover work, but only with full police backup and regular check-ins with Harrison. The operation began the next week. Tiana posed as a developer interested in building in the councilman's district. She wore a wire to meetings, carefully drawing out admissions about bribes and payoffs. It was tense work, every conversation a careful dance. Harrison hated every minute of it. He checked his phone constantly, waiting for her to confirm she was safe. He couldn't eat or sleep properly, worry consuming him. On the final meeting, the councilman was arrested. The wire had captured everything needed for prosecution. Tiana was safe, but when she came home that night, Harrison grabbed her in a fierce hug. Don't ever scare me like that again, he said into her hair. I couldn't breathe the whole time you were in danger. I was never alone, Tiana assured him. Police were always nearby. I was safe. But what if something had gone wrong? What if he had suspected? Tiana, I can't lose you. I just can't. She pulled back to look at his face. She saw genuine fear there and love so deep it made her chest tight. I'm okay. I'm here. And I'm not going anywhere. They held each other for a long time, both understanding that loving someone meant accepting their choices, even when those choices were scary. Harrison would always worry about Tiana's dangerous work. Tiana would always take cases that mattered regardless of risk. But they would face it together, supporting each other through fear and uncertainty. That night they talked about boundaries and compromise. Tiana agreed to be more selective about dangerous cases. Harrison agreed not to try to stop her from doing her job. They would trust each other and communicate openly about concerns. "We're learning," Tiana said. "Learning how to be partners in every sense. And we're getting better at it," Harrison agreed. "I trust you. I trust your judgment and your skills. I just love you so much that the thought of you in danger terrifies me." "I know," Tiana said softly. "And I love that you care that much. But I also need you to trust that I can handle myself." "I do trust you," Harrison said. "I'll work on the fear part." The next few months passed peacefully. The foundation continued to grow, opening facilities in 2 more cities. Tiana's firm took on additional staff, including a retired detective who mentored Bethany in investigative techniques. Together, they solved cases that helped families find closure and brought criminals to justice. Harrison and Tiana settled into their life together completely. The promise ring Tiana wore was a constant reminder of their commitment. They talked about the future, about marriage and possibly children someday. But they weren't in a rush. What they had was already perfect. One evening in December, almost a year after their first meeting, they sat by the fireplace in the library. Snow fell softly outside the windows. The house was decorated for the holidays, a beautiful tree in the living room covered in lights. "Remember last December?" Harrison said. "I was planning a wedding to the wrong person, completely clueless about what real love felt like. And I was working alone in my tiny apartment, thinking that was all my life would ever be," Tiana added. "Look at us now," Harrison said. "Running a foundation that's helped hundreds of people. Working together on cases. Building a life that matters." "Building a life together," Tiana corrected. "That's the best part. Not the work or the success but doing it all with you." Harrison kissed her softly. "Best year of my life." "Mine too," Tiana agreed. "And next year will be even better." She had no idea how right she was. January brought fresh snow and new possibilities. The Second Chances Foundation announced an expansion, partnering with universities to offer full scholarships to program participants. The response was overwhelming. Hundreds of applications poured in from young people aging out of foster care, each one hoping for a chance at a better future. Tiana and Harrison interviewed applicants personally. They wanted to know each person's story, their dreams, their struggles. Every interview reminded them why this work mattered. One young man named Joshua particularly moved them. He was 21, had aged out of foster care at 18, and had been homeless for 2 years while working minimum wage jobs. But he had never given up on his dream of becoming an engineer. "I study at the library every day," Joshua told them, his voice steady despite his circumstances. "I teach myself calculus and physics. I know I'm behind, but I'm willing to work twice as hard as anyone else. I just need a chance." Tiana saw herself in Joshua's determination. She saw the fighter who refused to let circumstances define his future. "You have your chance," she said. "Full scholarship, housing in our program, and a mentor in engineering. We believe in you." Joshua's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you. You have no idea what this means. I won't let you down." "You won't let yourself down," Harrison said. "That's all that matters." Stories like Joshua's fueled their passion for the foundation. They weren't just providing housing and money. They were offering belief in people when the world had given up on them. They were proving that with support, anyone could succeed. In February, Tiana's investigative firm hit a major milestone. They solved a cold case that had been unsolved for 10 years. A missing teenager, presumed dead, was found alive and returned to her family. The media covered the story extensively, bringing more clients to the firm. "You're becoming famous," Harrison teased as they watched the news coverage. "I'm becoming busy," Tiana corrected. "I need to hire more investigators. The caseload is getting unmanageable." "Then hire them," Harrison said. "Expand the firm. You have the reputation and the resources. Build something even bigger." Tiana thought about it seriously. She had always worked small, just her and Bethany and now the retired detective Tom. But maybe it was time to grow. She could help more people with a larger team. Within a month, she had hired 3 more investigators and rented a bigger office space. The new office had conference rooms, individual offices, and state-of-the-art technology. On the door, a new sign read, "Brooks Investigative Services, Finding Truth, Delivering Justice." Harrison came to the grand opening, proud as could be. "Look at this," he said, surveying the bustling office. "You built this. All of this." "We built it," Tiana corrected. "You gave me the support and resources to make it possible. I just provided tools. You provided the vision and the work." Harrison kissed her cheek. I'm so proud of you. Their personal life was equally fulfilling. They had moved Harrison's mother's belongings from storage to the estate, creating a beautiful memorial room with her photos and treasured items. Tiana helped Harrison process his grief, something he had never fully done after losing both parents. Your mom would have loved the foundation, Tiana said as they arranged photos on the shelves. She sounds like she had a big heart. She did, Harrison agreed. She always helped people even when we didn't have much ourselves. She would have loved you too. Your strength, your kindness. She would have been so happy I found you. Tiana felt tears well up. She had never known her own mother, had no family memories to share. But Harrison's willingness to include her in his family history made her feel like she finally belonged somewhere. In March they received unexpected news. Veronica Sterling wanted to meet with them from prison. She had served 3 months of her sentence and wanted to apologize in person. Absolutely not, Harrison said immediately. I don't need her apology. I don't want to see her. But Tiana thought differently. Maybe we should go. Not for her benefit but for yours. Sometimes closure requires facing the person who hurt you. After much discussion, Harrison agreed. They drove to the women's correctional facility on a cold Tuesday morning. Veronica sat across from them in a stark visiting room, wearing prison orange, her hair pulled back plainly. She looked different. Smaller somehow. Less polished and powerful. Just a woman who had made terrible choices and was paying for them. Thank you for coming, Veronica said quietly. I know I don't deserve your time. You don't, Harrison agreed, his voice hard. But say what you need to say. Veronica took a deep breath. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for lying to you, for planning to hurt you, for betraying your trust. I was greedy and selfish and I convinced myself that money was more important than integrity. I was wrong. Why now? Tiana asked. Why apologize after all this time? Because I've had time to think about what I became, Veronica said. And I'm ashamed. I threw away a chance at genuine happiness with a good man because I was too focused on what I could take instead of what I could build. She looked at Harrison directly. You deserved better than what I gave you. And she nodded at Tiana. She gave you what I never could. Real love and loyalty. Harrison was quiet for a long moment. Tiana watched emotions play across his face. Anger, sadness, and finally something like peace. I accept your apology, Harrison said finally. Not because you deserve forgiveness but because I deserve to let go of the anger. You're paying for your crimes. I'm moving forward with my life. That's all the justice I need. They left the prison in silence. In the car, Harrison finally spoke. Thank you for pushing me to do that. I didn't realize how much I needed to hear her admit what she did. Closure is important, Tiana said. And now you have it. She's in your past. I'm your present and your future. Yes, you are, Harrison agreed, reaching for her hand. My present and my future. Spring arrived with blooming flowers and new life. The estate gardens burst with color, and Tiana spent hours photographing the roses and tulips. She had discovered a love of photography, capturing moments of beauty to frame around their home. Harrison watched her work with a soft smile. She wore a bright green dress that complemented her skin perfectly, her natural curls loose around her shoulders. She was laughing at something, maybe a bird that had landed near her. She was radiant, beautiful, alive with joy. This was the moment, Harrison realized. This was when he wanted to ask her to marry him. He had been carrying the engagement ring for weeks, waiting for the perfect moment. But standing in the garden, watching the woman he loved be utterly herself, he realized the perfect moment wasn't some grand gesture. It was this. Just them, just life, just love. Tiana, he called softly. She turned, camera in hand, smile on her face. Yes. Come here for a second. She walked over, curious. Harrison took her hands, suddenly nervous despite months of knowing exactly what he wanted to ask. You know I love you, he began. I love you too, Tiana said. What's going on? A year ago you walked into a church and changed my entire life. You saved me from a terrible mistake. But more than that, you showed me what real partnership looks like. You've built an amazing career helping people. You've helped me build a foundation that's changing lives. You've made this house a home. You've made me better than I ever was alone. Tiana's eyes widened as Harrison dropped to one knee, pulling the ring box from his pocket. I gave you a promise ring months ago. Now I want to make good on that promise. Tiana Brooks, will you marry me? Will you be my wife, my partner, my family? Will you build this life with me forever? Tears streamed down Tiana's face. Her camera hung forgotten around her neck as she looked at the beautiful ring, at Harrison's earnest face, at the future opening up before them. Yes, she said through happy tears. Yes, I'll marry you. 1,000 times yes. Harrison stood and slipped the ring onto her finger. It was perfect, a simple band with a brilliant diamond that caught the sunlight. They kissed there in the garden, surrounded by flowers and hope and the promise of forever. That evening they celebrated with champagne on the terrace, toasting to their engagement and their future. I can't wait to marry you, Harrison said. To call you my wife. To build a family with you. I can't wait either, Tiana said. Though I want to plan this one properly. No interruptions, no drama. Just a beautiful celebration of us. Whatever you want, Harrison promised. Big wedding, small wedding, anywhere you want. It's your day. Our day, Tiana corrected. And I think I want something intimate. Close friends and family. Simple but meaningful. They talked late into the night, planning their wedding and their future. They wanted children someday, maybe 2 or 3. They wanted to expand the foundation globally. They wanted to grow old together, sitting on this very terrace, watching sunsets and counting their blessings. You know what's funny? Tiana said as they finally headed inside. If you had married Veronica, none of this would exist. The foundation, my career growth, us. Sometimes the worst things that almost happen lead to the best things that actually do happen. I believe that, Harrison said. Every choice, every moment led us here. And here is exactly where I want to be. They went to bed that night engaged, excited, and so deeply in love it felt like a dream. But it wasn't a dream. It was real, built on trust and mutual respect and genuine affection. It was everything love should be. And it was just the beginning of their forever. 6 months later, on a perfect September afternoon, Tiana Brooks became Tiana Cole in a small ceremony at the estate. The wedding was nothing like the elaborate event Harrison had planned with Veronica. This was intimate, personal, real. Only 50 guests attended. Frank Morrison served as Harrison's best man. Bethany was Tiana's maid of honor, wearing a beautiful maroon dress. The ceremony took place in the garden where Harrison had proposed, under an arch covered in white roses and greenery. Tiana wore a simple but elegant dress in ivory silk. No veil, no train, just clean lines that showed her natural beauty. Her hair was styled in loose curls with small flowers tucked in. She looked radiant, happy, completely herself. Harrison wore a navy suit with a green tie to match Tiana's favorite color. When Tiana walked down the aisle, his eyes filled with tears. This was right. This was real. This was love. The ceremony was short and heartfelt. They had written their own vows, promises spoken from the heart. Tiana, Harrison said, his voice thick with emotion. You crashed into my life at the exact moment I needed saving. But you didn't just save me from danger. You saved me from a life without real love, without true partnership. You showed me what it means to build something genuine. I promise to support your dreams, to stand by your side through every challenge, to love you completely for all our days. You are my home, my heart, my everything. Tiana's hands trembled as she spoke her vows. Harrison, you taught me that accepting help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. You gave me resources to grow my career, but more importantly, you gave me a place to belong. For someone who grew up without a family, you've given me the greatest gift possible. A home and a partner who sees me completely and loves me anyway. I promise to be your teammate, your supporter, your honest voice. I promise to build our life together with kindness and integrity. I love you with my whole heart. There wasn't a dry eye in the garden when they exchanged rings and sealed their vows with a kiss. The gathered friends applauded as the minister announced them married. The reception was held on the terrace, with simple but delicious food prepared by Mrs. Patterson and a small band playing soft jazz. There were toasts and laughter and dancing under string lights as evening fell. Frank Morrison gave a touching speech about watching Harrison grow from a grieving young man taking over his father's company to a generous philanthropist building meaningful change. And it's all because of this remarkable woman who had the courage to speak truth when it mattered most. Bethany's speech was shorter but equally emotional. Tiana taught me that investigation work isn't just about solving cases. It's about fighting for people who can't fight for themselves. She's the strongest, kindest person I know. Harrison, you're marrying a hero. When Harrison and Tiana had their first dance as husband and wife, they swayed slowly to a classic love song, foreheads pressed together, whispering words meant only for each other. Happy? Harrison asked. Happier than I ever dreamed possible, Tiana answered. This is perfect. You're perfect, Harrison said. My perfect wife. As the evening wore on, they mingled with guests, accepted congratulations and savored every moment. This was their wedding day done right. No poison plots, no criminals, no drama. Just love and joy and hope. Several of the young people from the Second Chances Foundation attended. Joshua was there in a smart suit, having just started his first semester of engineering school. He hugged Tiana tightly. "Thank you for believing in me. I'm getting straight A's." "I knew you would," Tiana said proudly. "Keep up the amazing work." As midnight approached, Harrison and Tiana said goodbye to the last guests. They stood on the terrace alone, looking out at their property bathed in moonlight. "So this is married life," Tiana said with a smile. "Feels pretty good so far." "Just wait," Harrison teased. "I'm planning to spoil you rotten for the next 50 years. "I can live with that," Tiana said. "As long as you let me spoil you right back." They spent their honeymoon in Italy, exploring Rome and Florence and the Amalfi Coast. They ate amazing food, toured ancient ruins, and simply enjoyed being together without the pressures of work and foundation duties. One evening in a small restaurant overlooking the Mediterranean, Harrison raised his glass. To new beginnings. To partnership. To love that saves and transforms and endures. To us, Tiana added. May we never forget how lucky we are to have found each other. When they returned home, life continued beautifully. The foundation grew, helping thousands of young people across the country. Tiana's investigative firm became nationally recognized for solving difficult cases. Together they built a life of meaning and purpose. A year after their wedding, Tiana discovered she was pregnant. Harrison cried happy tears when she told him, overwhelmed with joy at the thought of becoming a father. "We're going to be parents," he kept saying. "We're going to have a family. The family we both always wanted," Tiana said, her hand on her still flat stomach. "A family built on love and choice and commitment." Their daughter was born on a sunny May morning. They named her Hope, because hope had brought them together and guided their journey. She had Harrison's brown eyes and Tiana's beautiful smile. She was perfect. Holding his daughter for the first time, Harrison looked at Tiana with wonder. "Look at what we created. Out of near tragedy, out of crisis and danger, we built this beautiful family. We built it together," Tiana said. "Just like we build everything." The years passed in a happy blur. Hope grew into a curious, kind toddler. They had a second child, a son they named Justice, continuing their theme of meaningful names. The foundation expanded internationally. Tiana's firm trained new investigators. Their life was full and rich and exactly what they had dreamed. On their 5th wedding anniversary, they returned to the garden where Harrison had proposed. The children played nearby while they sat together on a bench, holding hands. 5 years, Tiana marveled. 5 years since that crazy day when I crashed your wedding. "Best decision you ever made," Harrison said. "Best decision we both made," Tiana corrected. "You could have ignored me, called security, gone through with that marriage. But you trusted me. You chose to believe a stranger." "I chose to believe in truth," Harrison said. "And that choice gave me everything. A real wife, a family, meaningful work, a life worth living." "Same here," Tiana said. "I was alone, struggling, just getting by. Now I have a home, a husband who supports my dreams, beautiful children, work that matters. All because I chose to speak up that day." They watched their children play, both overcome with gratitude for how their story had unfolded. Yes, it started with crisis and danger. But it ended with love and hope and family. Before we wrap up this beautiful journey, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever had a moment where one brave decision changed everything? Have you experienced the kind of love that transforms your entire life? Drop a comment sharing your thoughts and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Trust me, you won't want to miss the incredible stories coming your way. Your support means everything. That evening, after the children were asleep, Harrison and Tiana sat on their terrace as they had done so many times before. The stars shone bright above them. The future stretched out ahead, full of possibility. "What do you think?" Harrison asked. "Happy with how life turned out?" Tiana looked at her husband, the man who had trusted her at his lowest moment. The man who had built a life and family with her. The man who made every day brighter simply by being in it. "More than happy," she said. "I'm blessed." "We're blessed." "Yes, we are," Harrison agreed. They sat together in comfortable silence, two people who had found each other against all odds. Two people who had chosen trust over fear, hope over cynicism, love over loneliness. Their story started with danger and uncertainty. But it ended as all good love stories should, with joy and peace and a promise of forever. And they lived truly and deeply happily ever after.